I grew up in kind of a broken home. My parents didn't get along. There was a lot of violence. When I was 5, I ended up moving with my dad after my parents separated, still with some abuse in the household. And that bred a lot of resentment, some resentment that I carried for a long time. And I considered those traumas to be what led me down a negative path, one that Christ certainly wasn't on. And that path was opiate addiction and alcoholism. And I started that when I was in high school. That continued through college. And it wasn't really until I decided I wanted to marry my wife that things got better. But they got worse before they got better. I had a failed attempt at suicide a year before we got married. And the reason I felt the need to do that was because she had goals. She's a very intelligent person. She had goals for her life. She wanted kids. She had faith. And I didn't really have any of those things. No desires. And I felt guilty because we were supposed to get married in a year and she was going to marry a stranger, essentially. And I felt very bad about that. That night, when I failed at that, I realized then that there's a reason I'm still here. I didn't fully accept it as Christ being the reason, but that's the day I believed that there was a higher power. I finally decided to let her in on those things that I struggled with, because the addiction, the suicide attempt, I kept secret from everybody. And that started with the light. After I became a law enforcement officer, I got paired with a young man who still comes to our church every Sunday with us. And he reaches out to me on Facebook and asks, would it be bizarre to go to the same church as your probation officer? It was important to him, obviously, and I know it's been a benchmark for his success now. But I went to my wife and I said, this client needs to go to church. He wants to go to church. How do you feel about me going to church with him? That was not well received whatsoever, because she wanted to be the one to go to church with me. She's the one who really had the desire to raise a family in the church, have a church home. I knew that he wouldn't fully commit unless he had someone with him. And when we walked in, immediately the first person to greet us was Stephen. Handshake and coffee, which I had never felt welcome like that before, especially in a church. And then the message Andrew preached that day was exactly what I needed to hear, and it was exactly what he needed to hear. I was convinced that that was where I needed to call home. So I went home, told Gabby, this is where we need to go. And I'll never forget the emotions that poured out into that, because she had been praying and wanting us to do this for so long that it finally happened. In November of last year is when I fully committed to a relationship with Christ. And it wasn't until we did a sermon series called Stained Glass People that I fully believed it, and that it really became part of my identity. And I've embraced that. I carry that piece of stained glass with me all the time. It stays at my desk when I'm at work to remind myself of where I've come from and why I'm here now. I don't think we've ever been better. And I think I owe that to Christ, and I think I owe that to the church family at the Light. I'm Cody Martin, and this is me.